Welcome back, and today we are back with B-Way Gross's post-Tony bumps. This might have been the best week that we've seen for a lot of the new musicals. And let's get into it. And Juliet went from 98% to 99%, going from 1,134,159 to 1,339,854, which is a mammoth of a number, and this is the best Anne Juliet has done in weeks. Although even before the Tonys, they were doing exceptional. I give this a prediction that this will have a good 3 to 5 years in it. I do believe in that. I think the numbers prove my point, and it's just doing amazing business for its entire run. Again, I don't have a lot to say about this because there's nothing really to say. It's doing amazing. What else do you want me to say? A Beautiful Noise went from 74% to 70%, going from 930,736 to 839,923. This has been a musical that's always been kind of on the fence in terms of won't it? I think that the summer will do well enough that we won't know if this closes in January until September and October. And again, I think that if it does go past January, it's going to close sometime next year. I'm very confident that. I just don't know when. Again, if it does below 800,000 and goes into 7s and 6s, that's when it's in trouble. But I don't think we're going to see that. I think a lot of these new musicals, we're not going to know necessarily will they or won't they until the fall. I think that will be a good indicator. But with A Beautiful Noise, it's like, you know, it might, if it doesn't just tank in September and October, they might be like, okay, November and December we get the boost, we go, you know, in January and February, but then we get the spring and the summer, so I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be like a Moulin Rouge type hit, you know, but I think it could extend a little bit longer than we might think, but it's up in the air. It's kind of on the fence. Camelot went from 81% to 80%, and 693,887 to 757,135, and again, that is a limited engagement that ends in the spring, in the fall. Funny Girl went from 58% to 91%, and 528,000 to 1,609,931, and that's because Leah was out last week. Although that is the lowest it's gone without Leah. Hadestown went from 711,000 to 708,945, and 96% to 99%, with an average ticket of under $100. Again, not terrible numbers. Well, actually, okay, it's not terrible, but again, I think Hadestown is destined to close January or sometime next year. This show, no show that's doing consistent of 6 and 7s is doing well. You know, and Hadestown has been doing consistently 600, 700, the occasional 8, 9, and a mil. Now, Hadestown doesn't need to make $1 million to, like, succeed. Not necessarily, but, like, you know, anything past 850 is not great. And that's tough, but it's a high bar, but it's true. And, you know, doing 600 and 700, it's not great. You know, doing that consistently is not great. You know, if it was doing, you know, 900 and 800 consistently, much different story. But 600 and 700, it's not great. And again, the way that this is going, come the fall, you're going to see a 5, a 4, it's done. So even with these numbers of 6s and 7s, it's not necessarily like, oh my god, you know, it's going to close tomorrow, like Once Upon a One More Time, but it's in a position where that is starting to get put on the wall, where the writing is kind of on the wall. It's getting there, so it needs to turn around. Now, if Hadestown does 800, 900, then it won't close next year. But I don't see that happening. If you look at the numbers, the trends, it's doing 6s and 7s consistently, so it's gonna do that in the fall, and maybe even lower. And that's when it becomes big warning signs. Hamilton went from 100.88 to 101.14, and 1,732,000 to 1,957,000. And Hamilton did have 7 performances last week. Here Lies Love, and that played to 100% capacity for 1 performance with 126,461. And I'm very interested to see how this will do. The average ticket is pretty high, 125. Top ticket, 347. Here Lies Love, though, it's gonna make it till at least the Tonys. No matter how bad they do, unless they like completely fail and they're making like $500K a week, and I don't think that's gonna happen. But we have a great comment on our hands. You know, this kind of musical needs to make the big bucks. It can't make your 8s, your 7s. It can't do that. It's in big trouble if it does that. This needs to do $1 million every week necessarily, pretty much. You know, it can do 900K occasionally, but it can't get past that 900K. I mean, the renovations, it's an expensive musical, and there's a lot on the line, so, you know, just know that if I, you know, condemn the number 8 and 800K for it, it's because I know that this musical cannot afford that. And, yeah, Kimberly Akimbo had its best week ever, or one of the best weeks ever, going from 97% to sold out 100%, going from 526K to 695,405 with its highest average ticket. And again, I'll be very interested to see how this does in terms of, you know, I think it will close in January still, and I did say as long as it has a 6 in front of it, it's fine. Preferably it would be an 8, but if it can maintain, you know, 6, 7, and 8, it can definitely make it till January. Now, can it make it past January? I'm not sure. I think if that's the case, it needs to get into a more consistent range of like 900, 800, occasional 700. And I don't see that happening. I think it will be a Band's Visit Fun Home-esque run. It could go past January, but it won't make it. It won't be here in 2025. Put it that way. And again, it's like I think it will do well enough in the summer, where it will hit 800, maybe 900 if they're lucky. But I think they'll go back to doing the numbers they were doing post Tony win of 5, 6, and maybe 4 or 700, and they'll close in January. But that's just my opinion. But I'm again very interested to see how it does. Moulin Rouge went from 96% to 96%, making 1,213,114 this week, which was down from the 1,249K of last week. So doing pretty well. And just one more point on Kimberly Akimbo. Personally, I think it will close in January just because I think these best musicals aren't having the same power that they used to. But again, that's my opinion. New York went from 78% to 80%, going from 854,738 to 995,844. And again, I think that New York has very high running costs. So, you know, doing 995,000 is pretty solid. But again, it can't go past 850. And I think once that happens, it won't be long until it closes. So I think this will 100% close in January. Some people are saying Labor Day. But again, I think with the egos involved, the creatives involved, it just would be a bad look for them to close post Labor Day. And I think they will do well enough that producers will be like, okay. And then they'll get to September and October. And they'll be like, wow, we should have closed in September. Because personally, I'd close it in September. Because I see it on the wall. I can see the 7s, the 6s, the 5s. I think it's going to just boo in the fall. Once Upon a One More Time went from 69% to 70% and 645,628 compared to last week's 612,355. Again, I think we can deem this a flop. It's not doing well. They should have an 8 in front of it at this point. And yes, I know the tickets are only $70, but this low pricing is not working on most musicals. And again, every show that goes in the Marquee Theater is Coast. It doesn't succeed. So I think this will be gone by the end of the year. Parade went from 94% to 98%, going from $1 million to 1,168,463, and that is a limited engagement. Then we have good old Shucked, and that went from 96% to 94%, going from 699,954 to 862,188, which again is its best week ever. So again, Shucked, I think it closes in January. I think it will maintain low-end 600, high-end 800, maybe 900K. And then once we get into the fall, it will go into the 6s, the 5s, and the 4, and they'll pack it up in January. Personal opinion. Could it prove me wrong? Could it be a Beetlejuice? Maybe. But I think in order for that to happen, it would have to make a mill consistently in end of September and in October or September, and I just don't see that happening. 6 went from 953,714 to 981,386, going from 96% to 96% to 93%. Sweeney went from 1,880,939 to 1,935,912, selling out. And Some Like It Hot went from 88% to 90%, going from $1 million to 1,143,488. And again, great week for Some Like It Hot. You know, again, realistically, I think Some Like It Hot closes in January. But it could close in September, because if they're smart, they'll close in September. But again, I think it will maintain 1,900,000, the occasional 8 over the summer, and that will be enough to convince producers to keep it going. And I think it will fall into the 8s, 7s, maybe 6s, and they'll pack it up in January. But again, I find it hard to believe that Shucked, New York, and Some Like It Hot will all close, and Akimbo all close in January. I think that's what's going to happen. But hopefully, one of them can prove me wrong. I think out of, Some Like It Hot, New York, Shucked, and Akimbo has the best chance of maybe making it past January. But I think that's my prediction. And again, if I had to pick one early, maybe New York, because their average ticket is pretty low, and their operating costs are pretty high, and Some Like It Hot is probably going to want to keep going, and their average ticket is higher than that of New York, and Shuck's is low, but, that's always been their strategy, and I think that the producers of Shucked are going to fight until they have no more money left and then close. But yeah. So anyways, those are my predictions. A very interesting week. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.